Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another Thursday night edition of Aquaholics Anonymous. I appreciate you all being here. Of course, I appreciate my buddy, my pal, my co-host, Chattanooga Ed, being here with us as always. And we do have a special guest tonight. Most of you know and love this gentleman. I know and love this gentleman. He's been doing aquarium videos for, I guess, about a decade now. He's got some really awesome tanks. It's always an inspiration to look at his planted tanks and go, one day I'll be able to do that. But the man of the hour, Mr. Sean Pecktec. Welcome, sir.
Hello, everyone.
So I want to say I really appreciate you coming on. I know you were, we did one from your house where you hung out with us, I guess about 6 or 8 months ago. It's been a while. But I really appreciate you coming back on.
Yeah, it has been sometime in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know,
I'm psyched to come on.
Go ahead.
I love watching you guys, so it's fun to get on here and talk with you for once.
Well, I really appreciate that. I always have a blast when we hang out and we do games, or when we've gone to the fish conventions and things together. That's always a blast. So we'll have some fun on here. I've only got a couple questions for you specifically from me, because I wanted to kind of give the audience a chance to ask some things, because I know you fairly well. I don't want to say that I know you super familiar, but I know you fairly well, and I'm sure they've got some things they'd like to know about you. But I do want to talk a little bit about your new series that you've got going. I'm a huge fan of long form content and audio focused things, if you will, or things that you can just listen to the YouTube video and not have to actually watch it. And you came up with a wonderful concept. I love the name that you've got for it, and some really great guests to kick it off with. You want to tell us a little bit about what you've got going on your channel now?
Sure. It's called the Water Change Companion. And I've been a big fan of YouTubers like Joe Rogan, and the way I really liked the format that he had with kind of a longer interview. Some of his interviews go for like 3 hours. I didn't want to quite go that far because I don't have any help putting these together, but and then mixed in with short clips. Maybe if you don't have 2 hours, but you're kind of curious the tone of the conversation.
Yeah.
I pull out really small, interesting segments. But even I made sure that with every person I interviewed, I still have at least 45 minutes of conversation that you won't hear, even in the segments. And I didn't pull all the best parts out and make them into little clips. The exception, of course, is Joey Mullen, which is this week's subject, and his extra content is like nearly 2 hours. Like,
oh wow!
The conversation with him, like the entire conversation, the part I recorded and the part I didn't record, was about 4 hours. So we had a good time, kind of talking to each other. But it's something I've had kind of going in the back of my head for a long time. And actually, I decided it would be fun to do, and the name, the Water Change Companion, and my final push to do it was kind of listening to you guys while I was cleaning my tanks one night. I was doing some late night water changes, and I just had you all on the TV, and I was just kind of listening along, like I like to do. I usually paint while you guys, if I'm painting and I see you're on, I'll just let the stream go, and I'll sit and listen to you. But I was doing my water changes. I was like, this is a great time for this would be a great way to do a podcast.
Yeah.
We're kind of the hybrid podcast, which is like a YouTube video and also that's also, kind of more of a conversation than an instruction or something like that.
Absolutely.
And then I decided that when I made these things, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do I've seen so many interviews that are like, it seems like it's the exact same questions over and over and over again. So what I did was I went to each of these people, and a lot of them are really well-known people that I've just kind of known for a long time. But I listened to interviews they did with other people. And then so I already knew the answers to those questions, and then it helped me like get to the next question after that.
Yeah,
And really let them elaborate on it. And that's why there's so few. Like, that's why there's only 5. For each person, I spent a day, even people I knew really well. Like, I did the least amount of research probably on Rachel, because at the time, especially, she and I would talk every couple of weeks. We'd be chatting with each other, because I'm always asking her questions. I'm always bugging her with my fish questions. Well, not bugging her, but you know what I mean. But each person that I interview, I spent about 2 or 3 days researching the questions that I was going to ask beforehand. So, and watching their videos and like trying to catch up the best I can.
Well, and that, so I guess I can't say this without kind of giving away the fact that I got a sneak peek from you, if you will, and I do greatly appreciate it. But having had that sneak peek, I want to say that really showed in the line of questioning. Because like you mentioned, and like you and I have discussed, you get so many of the same questions, especially, people that have been on a lot of streams. It's like, well, what's your favorite fish? Well, he's said that 5 times this month, because it seems to be a trending thing where when somebody's on as a guest on one channel, they'll be on 3 or 4 or 5 within a 1 month span. So by the end of it, you're already like, I already know his favorite fish. I'm going to answer this. Or how many tanks? Well, he's got 17 tanks. So it was really refreshing to be able to listen to that long format and get some different information and some interesting questions. And that's all I'll divulge. I will say it is definitely. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say the only person I freaked out was Chris from Fish for Thought. Because he and I had never met before. I knew him the least of anyone.
Right.
And he's not like, he doesn't have an online presence. He doesn't have, I couldn't find him on Facebook. I couldn't find him on anything but Instagram and YouTube. And I'm sure he probably has one. But I couldn't find anything on him. So I was just, I found 2 interviews that he did. And I pulled everything I know about him out of those. And then I speculated on some other stuff. I went into his comments and saw questions he answered and stuff. And I kept asking him these things. He's like, how do you know this? Like, you told someone in an interview like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of funny.
I very much appreciate that from a personal aspect, because I've gone back and I've watched a lot of, so right now, I'm on Corey Aquarium Co-op. I started at the very beginning with his very first live stream, going back and watching them in order. So I'm one of those people that, he'll have something he talked about, 2 or 4 years ago. And I'm like, I really want to follow up with him, now and see if that's still the same or if things have changed. So I very much appreciate that. And it's definitely worth a watch. If any of you in here are watching now and you're somehow not subscribed to Pecktec, go check him out, because I think you'll very much enjoy it. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, fresh perspective in that. Now, I do see we've got some super chats, and I will definitely get to those in a minute, and they are very, very much appreciated. And then a couple of questions and comments. If you've got questions for myself, Ed, or of course the awesome Pecktec, Sean, just put @FishRoomFever. It will highlight for me in the chat, and I could read those off. But I've got 2 questions I would like to ask you, and then I'll turn it over to Ed, see if he's got anything, and then we'll jump into the chat here. So my first one is, you've got about 13 tanks or so now. If you could only keep 1 tank up and running, which tank would that be and why?
That's a great question. The one I just made, my 43-gallon.
Okay.
Because I just finished it and it looks good. But it's also got the most integrated technology that I've ever tried to put into a tank. And it's nothing that's like any saltwater person would have. I mean, saltwater folks like really put a lot of tech in their tanks, but
absolutely,
between the UV filter and the CO2 and the Kessel light with the controller and the low iron glass and the different layers of substrate, and even the way I've configured the under gravel filter and stuff like that, it's really kind of. I shot for a little bit. I shot a little bit higher than my typical aquarium build. I kind of did that with this one too. I'm totally in love with this one also. But you know, I didn't put any CO2. The light's not on a controller; it just turns off. It's there's no UV filter or anything. It's got the same kind of behind the scenes filter that my other tanks do. And probably second place would be the Megaflex, which continues to be a favorite tank of mine. So,
Right.
but that new one is nice. I just got glass to put on top of it today.
Okay.
Because I take these tanks and I put a sheet of glass on top, so it's still a seamless tank, but it has a lid, so all my fish don't jump out and die, and I don't have to refill it every day because of evaporation and stuff. So I just put one of those downstairs, and I'm hoping now that I'll really love that tank. Because up until then, the evaporation on that was just like, it was killing me, man. Every other day, trying to fill the thing back up. That's my favorite one right now, the 43 gallon.
Absolutely. So my only other question is if you could add one more tank, because I know that you're kind of at your max capacity on space. What would it be? I mean that in the sense of like what size and what stocking would you go for if you could add one more tank?
You know, so where my 210 is, there's a little space on the left and right of that. So if I took it out, I could probably fit in maybe a 600, or maybe not double the size, but I mean, they come in all kinds of shapes. There's some headroom too. If I may have got one that's a little taller, maybe I could do 600 or something like that. But I always I'm always thinking bigger, bigger, bigger. I kind of built my channel on smaller aquariums. You know, my most viewed tanks are 15 gallons. You know, around that size, 15 gallons and 5 gallons, 2 gallons. But I'm over that, and I really want. I like the bigger ones. They're easier to keep. You can keep a wider variety of fish and stuff. I kind of like to do. I'd like to do like a 600, and instead of trying to put bigger fish in, I want to put like thousands of small fish.
And that would be amazing.
Like 200 rummy nose tetras. I'd have to buy them over like 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And you honestly, you don't see that enough. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you could find a hookup for that if that ever came. Yeah, that is an awesome idea right there.
I love my Beischer, but he doesn't come out.
Yeah, I think I've seen him once while I was over there. Not that I've been over to your house a ton of times, but I know even when you're like, hey, he's in here, and we kind of waited and hung out around the side, and he poked his head out eventually. Because I'm a huge Beischer fan, so I love seeing those guys.
I love him. I love it. He's one of my favorite fish, but I mean, unless you're hanging out in the evenings, he's very nocturnal. Like he'll come out when the lights get real dim right before they come out. He'll come out and kind of sit around and swim and do all this stuff. You're like, oh, look at him there, and then the poop lights go out.
Well, Ed, did you have any questions for Sean?
Well, Sean, you've made a lot of cool things to actually put into your tanks. Or have you been thinking about anything new to put in that, into the future?
You mean like custom ornaments and stuff?
Yes.
No, I've been. It's fun. I like the whimsy of doing those kind of tanks, but man, there's so much work. Well, I mean, I have some ideas I never got around to doing. Like I wanted to do a Cthulhu tank where the whole back is like kind of a rock, like the whole back's rock, and then there's a cave, and they have like Cthulhu kind of coming out of the cave and stuff. I think that would look neat. But then, and I started to actually build that out of my 15-gallon flex. That was the plan, was to make it in there. But then I was like, but Cthulhu's saltwater.
Well,
He's from the ocean. And everything's going to be out of scale because this is going to be like a little tiny Cthulhu crawling up a little hall, with these like big Java fern,
Oh yeah.
So I kind of got the model builder in me I get caught up in the minutia of those kinds of things. I really liked my tank with the hand in it. I still have that hand somewhere. I got all kinds of crap for that. People loved and hated that. No, basically, no one understood what I was trying to do with it, and I don't think I executed it perfectly. But, yeah.
well,
I have a lot of ideas, but I don't know if I'll ever actually accomplish any of them.
that hand was what introduced me to Pecktec, because I had hurt my back,
really?
and all I had was the Xbox to see video. So I was like, hand or homemade DIY ornaments for your fish tank, because I really wanted to make a Darth Vader helmet and make it all melty and stuff and put it in a tank with a red light in it. That was kind of a thing. And I found some guy that made a Iron Man one, and then I found you. And then I just, I enjoyed all your stuff from there, and I learned about what the fish fam is and all that. Because from you, I think it suggested to go check out Corey, and it was just cool. But that hand is actually what caught me to your channel. And I also think it's funny. You were talking about Cthulhu, making a Cthulhu thing. Next week on the live stream, I'm actually planning on making a Cthulhu thing for for the inside of a fish tank. Live on.
Really?
That's my plan for next week's stream, which is kind of funny that you brought that up.
Did you
But
find?
I'm not going to say it
because I've got one here. If you want it.
I'm going to make it from scratch. People probably won't know.
Oh, you
I don't
are?
want to get too into it. Yeah, I won't get too into it, but we'll see if people even can figure out what I'm doing.
Well, I think it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Hopefully.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and say some thank yous to the super chatters here, and we'll dive into the chat and take some questions from there. Let me get this pulled up to where I need to be at. We got Tank Top Tropics dropping that $1 pile of fertilizer on us. Very much appreciate that, Tank Top. Good to see you. I hope you're having a great day. Followed by Pecktec Creek Aquatics. We got a lot of piles of poo. Somebody let their dog loose in the chat. Pecktec Creek Aquatics dropping that $1 fertilizer pile as well. Thank you, Peplin. Very much appreciated. Mike's Aquatics and Things, not to be forgotten, also throwing a $1 pile of poo at us. So thank you very much for that. And then Rich T, how's it going? Good to see you again, Rich. Throwing another pile of poo on us with that $1 pile of fertilizer. Thank you, my buddy. This guy here,
That's a lot of poo. I wonder what that smell was.
That is, yeah. It keeps the plants growing well. We use it for fertilizer here, so all those lovely plants in the background behind us, they stay enriched. But our buddy Rack with Bird Garden, also Pond Life, formerly River Life, with $20 super chat, says Pecktec, Fish Room Fever, great guest. Absolutely. And thank you very much for that, Rack. I need to get you back on here. I won't push too much, but it's been a while since we talked, but I appreciate that. And yeah,
I got a neat letter from Rack today.
I did. I've got some mail from him. I was going to do it today, but we'll do that Saturday.
Okay,
maybe next Thursday, because I wanted to optimize our hour with Sean here and get as many questions in as possible. But we're going to have a mail opening either Saturday or next Thursday, because I got several things. But Bird Garden, Rack, I appreciate you very much, my friend. Thank you for everything that you do to support the community and the channel. Pecktec Creek Aquatics with a $5 super chat. It says, OG Pecktec, great guest. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And thank you very much for that, Peplin. Again, another super chat from you, my friend. And our buddy Rico Stan, which congrats to you, Rico Stan. I know you'd hit that 300 subscriber mark. So
awesome.
Congrats, buddy. $10 super chat says, leave me some good questions to ask Sean on Tuesday too. LOL. Or the little tongue out face. Thank you for that, Rico. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm going on with Rico next week.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I think that'll be a fun time because he does kind of a not your average stream thing, if you will.
Yeah. Be careful. He can be a jerk.
Oh. All right, I'm going to jump into the chat.
Not really.
Here.
He's a great guy.
He is. He's a really great guy. I'm going to jump into the chat here. Let's see what kind of questions we've got. As far up as I can go on the highlighted stuff, Tank Top Tropics says, "Hey, Fisher, Beaver, and Ed, what are the best plants to keep in a guppy breeding tank?" Would either of you gentlemen like to take that first?
I've got 3. Water Sprite grows crazy. You can let it. I go with floating things. Water Sprite does great. Guppy grass. The name's guppy grass. Works with guppies really good. Just don't let it go too crazy because it'll kill itself. And I love Kumbomba. It's so pretty. So those are my 3 floating plants for guppies.
Sean, I know you're not a huge breeding person per se, but you're an amazing aquascaper and plant guy. So from maybe a more plant-focused perspective, what do you got for us?
I'm loving red root floaters just because they kind of add that color when you're looking straight onto the tank and stuff. They have a little bit of color on top too, and I think they have the shorter roots. Mm-hmm. I used to be a huge fan of frog bit until I discovered the red root floaters. I'm slowly throwing my frog bit away, but they keep the roots really short, and I think that would probably make good hiding spots for the babies. They come up through there.
Absolutely. So the only thing that I'm going to add to that, and there are a lot of things, but best ones.
This is Sean's frog bit.
There you
I've
go.
got tons of it.
He does. It's been spread all over the community. Java moss would be the only other one that I would throw in there, and I use Java moss a lot in my guppy breeding tanks. Thank you, Merdul, for the audio and video check.
It's great for shrimp too.
Oh, yeah. I've found that anytime I throw Java moss in a tank, the shrimp are immediately on that stuff.
Yeah, I like the Java moss. It's just, I kind of prefer the floating. Yeah, I just prefer the floating stuff. But the moss is great.
Aquatic Data, man, good to see you. Appreciate you being here from Wales in the UK. 2:30 in the morning there, which 3 o'clock in the morning there now, basically. Sean says, and this is Sean, a.k.a. Holy Fish Guy, Fish Room Fever, how's it going? Finally back after a couple crazy weeks. Congrats, Ed. Awesome stream as always, guys. Well, thank you for that, Sean. Very much appreciated. And always glad to see you here. Glad you're back. Let's see, Marybeth McCubbins says, "Hi all. Funny things your husband says. Part 1, he now calls me a Fish Room Feverette. Part 2, my rummy nose tetras are now known as Rudolph fish." Oh, that's great. Gotta love it. The spouses in the hobby. And I know that you mentioned before that your wife Holly doesn't watch your videos anymore because I was gonna make a joke about careful, the wife might hear about that 600 gallon and you might be in some trouble there, but all right. Let's get a little further down. Thank you, Zen, for posting the links there. See what else we've got highlighted in the chat. It's either jumped on me or we have no questions, and I doubt we have no questions. It jumped on me because I see a lot more super chats have come in as well, and we will definitely get to those. So,
well, Sean, you've been to conventions all over and done a lot of different things. What would you say is your favorite convention, and what is your favorite thing to do at a convention?
Oh, my favorite thing to do at a convention is almost always to hang out with folks like you. I mean, all these people that I watch on YouTube all the time or talk to on Facebook, but see them in real life and interact that way. I really love, like at aquarium conventions, I really love like looking at what people have done with the tanks. I'm always amazed at the way people put together tanks for such a short period of time. Because I mean, usually it's just like a day or so, and then they had to take it down and put it away. And I always thought that was crazy. I mean, I took my steampunk tank to a convention. That's the only tank I've ever taken to a convention and set up, but it was 80% done. Like, I mean, I just had to kind of like throw some plants in there and fill it up with water. I had but some of these guys, I mean, they're full on giant 90-gallon aquariums with full aquascapes, and then full of fish too. I mean, I'm always in awe at that someone would do that for a weekend.
Absolutely.
The other thing, like, and that's more the social part of it, but and then at the bigger, like the commercial things, like Aquatic Experience, I love to see the new products. I'm always on the hunt for what's new. I'm a cult of the new kind of guy, as we say in board games, and I like to see what's next, and I want to get in on the edge, the cutting edge, whatever I can find, and aquarium stuff moves really slow, so I really enjoy that at the more commercial kind of things.
Absolutely. Which, on that note, was it your Megaflex video? I think that convention where they kind of premiered the Megaflex, if you will, that was the #1 video to come out of that convention. So it's really neat. You never know. Yeah, and that's awesome. So that gives you
that's
a bonus
impressive at a convention with like at a convention with like 100 YouTubers. That was pretty. I was impressed that it did that well. I was excited.
Absolutely. Well, I think, to your point, things move kind of slow in the aquarium hobby, and a lot of us like to see that what's next, that cutting edge, as you mentioned. So it's definitely very, very well done and very smart on your part. Paul Sotero in the chat says, this is about your tank that you just discussed. Fisherman favorite, that tank that Sean has that's just really cool is the one with the porthole window.
Yeah.
I love that thing. Lunatic Fringe, very nice guitars hanging up by the aquarium. Maybe a banjo cat would be interesting for a theme tank. There you go.
I like
they are neat little fish,
but they hide so much.
They do, unfortunately.
I've never kept one just because. Well, I think I read some people's accounts of them. Like I looked them up to probably purchase them,
yep.
And everybody's like, mine goes under the leaves and hides, and I never see it. So I didn't waste my money on it. But I've never had one to know for sure if that's the way the experience is.
Yeah, that seems to be a fairly common thing with them from what I've seen. Let's see. Fatman Aquatics says, all right, getting back to editing some vids. LOL. See y'all in a little later. Thanks for the stream. Fatman, have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us. So our buddy Bird Garden here had a good question. He says, Pecktec, you've been to several fish conventions. Got any good stories from your travels? And clone updates, please.
Charlie has taken up a part-time job. He works at Starbucks. He's only a couple of years old, so that's probably appropriate for his education level. Yeah, he's a barista.
There we go.
Roaming clone, he checks in every now and then, but I don't see him very often. And then of course the clones that took off in the spaceship, I haven't seen them. I don't know. Last I heard, they were in Hawaii, but then they got attacked by a flower horn, and haven't seen them since. So I hope they're okay wherever they are.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as crazy stories, it's one of those things. What happens at Aquashella stays at Aquashella. I guess my crazy personal story that I can tell on myself is I decided, I'm going to be 50 this year. Isn't that fun? In August, I'll be 50 years old. And so I had no business participating in the sumo wrestling event, which was, I imagine it would be one of those funny inflatable sumo suits, right? But it's not. You're in a big bouncy ball with like a little rail, a couple of little handles to hold on to. So I get in there, and the person opposite me is the Ohio fish rescue guy. And that dude's like, what?
Big Rich?
Tall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't call him Big Rich for nothing either. I mean, I don't meet a lot of people. I'm like, oh, hi. That dude's huge.
That's not fair.
And he ran at me like a damn freight train. It's not like I'm amble enough to like just move out of the way real quick. I'm in a ball. I'm in this giant ball. So and you can see this if you want to see it, Lucas Brett's videotaped it. So you can see Sean get his ass literally knocked out. Like, he hit me so hard, it broke my glasses. It broke my glasses and cracked a rib. And then I got up to around 2.
Who'd you have to, with him again,
like,
or someone else?
Yes. And I'm trying to think of who the other guy was. I don't think it was much better. It was like Tijuana Tanks or some other monster that I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I have never felt so old and broken in my life. So I literally took my phone and I'm like, nearest drugstore is near my location, and I was sitting there holding my glasses because it broke the nose part. It broke the nose part off, and it jammed it into my face. So I had this hole in my face. So even when I did put it on, it hurt like hell, right? So I'm having to hold my glasses like this, and then it's like, okay, there's a CVS a mile up the street. So and also I had this pain because I cracked a rib, but I wasn't sure. I was like, am I having a heart attack? I thought I was going to fucking die. I was scared.
I hit so hard to get a heart attack.
I'm going to die in Chicago. On a domestic mountain plane. Anyway, so I limped up to CVS and I went up to the lady and I said, can you, with large gestures, point me to your reading glasses? And of course I've got, 2 different optics in here. So I bought 2 pairs of reading glasses, one so I could look at my phone and one so I could drive. And sometimes I wear them both. If I wanted to use my phone and watch TV, I've had one on the lower end and then one on the top end. Anyway, that's my craziest. That's the craziest story that I'm willing to tell.
Well, it's hard to beat that. I think that's crazy enough. I mean that, and I'd heard about that before, but I'd kind of forgotten because it's been a while back. But I know when it first happened, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Because people are like, "Did you hear about Pecktec?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm like, "Oh, okay." But
there's another story from the. I see the trash pandas there.
We've got to play this sometime.
Something. Yes. Something else that happened is Greg Jones was originally going to go, and he said, do you want to participate in the big eating contest? And so I thought, sure, I like eating stuff. I can eat big, maybe it's hot dogs, or I wonder what it'll be, And then I get there, and it's a bug eating contest. It was a typo. And there's a big difference between a big eating contest. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I had agreed to sumo wrestling, which I nearly died, and then a bug eating contest, which I was like, I'll judge it. I'll judge it or something if you want. But I ended up not doing anything with it. I think I wasn't. Someone else judged the first one, and then I had to go for the second one. But yeah, big eating contest.
That's crazy.
I don't participate unless I go to win. And I'm just not going to force like scorpions and stuff down.
Oh goodness, no. Yeah.
Nah.
Well, that certainly sounds like some fun times. And I'm looking forward to Aquashella this year. I'm really hoping that they actually can go through with it. Because I know there are a lot of us that are planning on heading to Orlando if they have it. So that's going to be a blast. And, we've gone to some small things, like Ed and I are leaving out tomorrow to go to Cincinnati to a fish swap. But I'm really looking forward to going to a good size event with a lot of fun fishy folks.
My phone ran out of batteries. So I'm like,
I gotcha. I'm going to run through here. I see a couple of hellos while you're doing that. Tony Cancelier, which I don't know if that's properly pronounced, but that's how I like to say it. It says, Fish Fever, good to see you, buddy. And Ed, Have you finished to move your tanks? Great stream as always. So I have not finished moving everything. I have completed phase 1. And thank you all for watching that video. That video is actually doing about 5 times better than my normal video. So I very much appreciate you all checking that video out. And I have finished phase 2, but I've not done the video for it. And I didn't film nearly as much of it because a lot of it was me kind of in a cartoon animated phase of me pushing on this rack of tanks and my feet just sliding, trying to get the thing to move from the hallway to the living room. So almost done with phase 2. And then we've got a couple things that are just waiting, like resealing and setting up the 220 gallon, but it's getting there. And I've got some behind the scenes footage for the members that I will put out probably Monday when I get back, or Sunday. I'll probably put it out Monday because Saturday we're going to go do Friday, Saturday we'll be doing the thing. Sunday I probably won't want to mess with too much. I may put it out Sunday. But I find that usually a day between content, you all seem to enjoy not seeing my face too much. So we'll probably do that and get y'all up to speed. Bottom Dollar Aquatics just saying hello to everybody. I know we've got some more super chats and stickers, and I appreciate that very much, and I will get those here in a second. Deb Hall D says, yep, the hand is what got me watching Pecktec also. Very, very cool. Funny, you never know what's going to draw people in the initial time to your channel. Fantastic Freak says, question for Pecktec, what is his favorite kind of fish?
Oh, I like really small fish. Like right now, I really love gobies. I think they're hilarious to watch. And I've got a tank that I got almost all these fish from with you guys at that little swap we went to.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed my little goby tank. I love the dwarf gobies. I like a lot of small fish too, like celestial pearl danios and my little exclamation rasboras and stuff like that. I love those fish. Little fish.
Yeah, they are very, very cool. Let's see here. Where did it go? Craig Michaud was asking about stickers. Yes. So anybody, if you email me, fishroomfever@gmail.com, of course, please send me your address, because just saying I want some stickers doesn't help me get them to you, and we'll be happy to send those out to you. Moving on down through here. Lisa NJ says, I'm a new shrimp keeper. I found one of my yellow shrimp dead today. Looks like issues molting. Should I be worried? My other shrimp seem great. New babies and several buried females. So I would say if it's just the one, everybody else is looking fine. The whole colony is not presenting any signs of water quality issues or anything like that, or any type of health issues. It's probably just that one shrimp, and it happens. We lose the occasional fish and shrimp here and there, just as a part of life.
Yeah,
in my
just
opinion.
like people.
Yeah,
they're just like people. Some people, they have inherent problems that you can't see, and they just kind of don't live as long.
Yeah, especially if it looked like it was a molting issue. It happens sometimes. They can't quite get out of a molt, or things go wrong. So I wouldn't be worried. Especially they're continuing to populate. Everything else looks healthy. I've generally speaking, not always the case, but in my experience, I've generally found that when things are reproducing in your tank, that your tank's doing pretty good. There are not a lot of things that are going to continue to make babies when your tank is in a bad spot, if you will. Go down through here. The chat's going to jump on me because it just froze. So I'm going to grab this one from the very bottom, and I'll see how far back up I can go. But Paul Sotero says, what fish would Sean like to tackle next?
Ooh. Right now, my big challenge, I'm trying to breed those blue-eyed rainbows, those little tiny rainbows. So as far as tackle goes, like if I can get a fish to reproduce, I don't have to keep buying them. That's my version of a tackle.
There we go.
Anything I could do to save somebody by not having to always buy them and have hundreds somehow. Blue-eyed rainbows, and I have 2 different varieties of them, and I'm just I'm trying to figure out how to get them to breed. So that's my latest project fish.
Very nice. I think that's always fun when we take on a breeding project, especially if it's something that we've not worked with before and it's not like your standard bushy nose plecos or something that just pops out babies whether you want them to or not. So I'm very interested to see how that turns out for you. Let me go back here.
You
Had
know,
a couple of
what's funny is I discover. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
didn't mean to interrupt.
You are all
I
right.
discover new fish at the store. Like in the beginning, I would read books and I'd discover things that I'd like to get, but it always ended up being that the one pictured in the book is like the most beautiful one ever. And yeah, I'd never see anything even close to that nice. Or you can't get them anymore because that book is from the 80s and those, that line is gone. Or one thing or another. So now my discovery, like the rainbows I've got now, I didn't know existed until a couple of months ago when I saw them at my store, and that's kind of the way it goes with me. I discover fish through shopping. And then I go look them up and see if I can keep them or if I'm going to kill them or not.
It's probably the best way to do it. So that way you can get them.
Right.
Because I've done the same thing. I've seen them in something in a book, and it's like, ooh, I want that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I have to fly to Africa to find it or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also to your point, that picture that they put in there is like the picture that Jimmy, from Aquarium Co-op, that it's a picture that like Jimmy spent a week trying to get type of picture that you're just not going to find that fish in that perfect lighting with that exact breeding dress going. And, it's the dream fish of that species, if you will. But I found that I was surprised how many different types of tetras there were that I wasn't aware of until, like you mentioned, fish stores. I was in Aquatic Marine right up the street from me, and I'm like, they constantly have, a dozen plus different types of tetras, and I'm like, I've never seen this tetra before. I didn't know about this one. So it's definitely a great way to find new fish. And like you said, they're right there, so then you can just do some research. If you're Sean Peck, you pull up a Rachel O'Leary video and watch it real quick in the store. I have to give you
every time.
And that's a great way to do it. And I'm the same way. I go on YouTube. I'm like, okay, if it's fish I don't know, let me research it. So it's not that traditional impulse buy of I'm getting it and I know nothing. It's, well, I'm buying it impulsively in the sense that I didn't plan to, but I've researched it and I know it'll be okay. So very much so.
It's not as great for newbies as it is for people that have kept a lot of other fish. Because I think after a while you get a sense of what it takes to keep a particular genre of fish, and so it's like, oh, this one's like that, and I've done this before, so I think I can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's definitely not something that I would recommend on specialty fish. Most, tetras or variations of common fish, you're probably okay, like you mentioned. But if it's a really crazy fish, and it's not in that, as you mentioned, genre of fish that you're familiar with, I'd probably spend more time researching it appropriately before getting it. Let's see here. In the chat, we've got Jeff Rose Fish Keeping saying, what's up to everybody? Good to see you, Jeff Rose. Skippity Skeep Skeep says, Pecktec, when does the co-op episode come out?
It's the last one, so it'll be in April, like the beginning of April, right before I come back. But like Joey, he has about, there'll be I think 4 teasers for his, and then the final episode, or on Patreon. If you follow me on Patreon or you contribute $3, you can watch all of them right now.
There you go. And I would say it's definitely worth that investment. It really, really is. To be able to pay $3 to see all of them right now. I personally would say that's definitely worth it.
That's less than a quarter an hour.
Yeah. It really is great content. So there you go. There's a way to get the sneak peek at it. Tony Cancelier again says, I live in the UK and I have never been to a fish convention. What would you say is the best thing you've experienced in attending them? So the only like legitimate convention, and it's even a smaller scale, it's more of a fish club meet, but it's on the bigger side of them, that I've attended was the Big Fish Deal. And that was last year, right at the start of human malware, as Bentley says. So it was kind of scaled down. There were a lot of people that didn't attend for safety reasons, understandably. But really, it was just the camaraderie. And that one specifically, and no offense, Sean, but it was kind of nice that a lot of the bigger names, well, none of the bigger names, if you will, showed up, because the little guys, and I say little guys, talking about myself and some others, we kind of got the spotlight, if you will, kind of forced over, like, okay, do you all have a game plan? Because these people were going to do these things. So you all figure out the new schedule and who's going to do what. And so, it was literally a group of like 8 of us at a table, fish tubers at the thing. And I grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, and we're like, all right, let's write out the new schedule for presentations and who's doing what and how we're doing this. That was probably the best experience for me, was just the camaraderie of it, and getting that kind of, hey, it's on you, go for it. I enjoy those type of situations. So what about you, Ed?
It's absolutely the best. It is. Yeah. It is so much fun to interact with your fellow fish tubers. People because a fish tuber has like 2 common interests at least. Yeah. There's 2 things that occupy a lot of your time that you can talk about. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been going to Gen Cons since the, I don't know, for 20 some years, and Comic Cons. And I love those conventions because I can just buy tons of like games or action figures or something, and I get to meet the creators and stuff. But with the fish stuff, it's kind of different because it's a lot of fun because you just get to hang out with a lot of fun people, and that's what if you have a club anywhere by you, go sign up to your club and join it, because once a month you'll get to hang out and have fun with people that like your hobby. It's wonderful. And basically the conventions are just kind of a club, just 100 times bigger, and everything. And that's what I like about the fish conventions, I think. They seem more homey. I don't know.
Well, I think that's what spawned the conventions, is they become like, especially like the Big Fish Deal is a club meeting. Technically, it's a weekend long club meeting. So, and what's different about that is it's kind of like with Gen Con and Aquatic Experience and those cons, they're all they're industry oriented, which has its cool things too, and that you still have a lot of good conversations with people and stuff. But it's not like the Big Fish Deal, which is basically one room of vendors, a bunch of tanks, and just people talking. Really not a lot of name brands there, kind of flashing their their wares on you and stuff, and not a big gotcha displays or anything like that. Big Fish Deal is by far my favorite convention, simply because I really get to interact with people there in a way that I don't get to do it at the bigger ones. But
definitely,
my first aquatic experience I went to, nobody was filming. I think I went to stay with John from KG Tropicals, and he still has nightmares about my snoring. That was pre-CPAP machine. He still complains about it to this day. But anyway, so me and John went, and I think John made maybe one video. It was a good video, like a combination of talking to a bunch of different people. And Joey was there. I think he made like a short video too. But I had been going to those steampunk conventions And when I would go there, it was just like, I know that a good convention can be weeks and weeks of content. So I interviewed, I think I interviewed maybe 10 or 15 people. Like anybody that would talk to me, I would sit there and I'd make an episode, a video episode about it. And I took a really strong work ethic, you know, to get in there, really make the most of my trip. And there was nobody really filming. There was barely any YouTubers there. I mean, I think it's the first time I met like, well, I met a few people and stuff, but it was not what it is now. What now it's like at Aquashella, especially, is like all about fish tube. I mean, it's a huge fish tube thing. It's like everybody's a fish tuber there, just about.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
so and I was listening to your comment about, you know, not all without all the big guys kind of sucking the air out of the room, you get to like show your stuff a little bit, you know. And that's kind of what Aquashella was like for me. Like I liked it and I thought it was neat, but I felt like there's too much emphasis on this.
Absolutely.
Like it kind of gone too far. It was kind of ridiculous. I thought it was fun though. Like I did generally have a good time until I cracked my ribs and broke my glasses. That put a damper on it. I did have a good time though, and I thought it was neat. Like it was kind of the convention I imagined we could do, but way before, you know, a long time ago. I was like, that'd be cool if we could do that, but no one will ever be that interested in the stuff we talk about to do that. And then here we go. But yeah, the camaraderie and stuff at these things are you can't replace that with anything. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that really stands out for me was that was the first time anybody had ever asked me for an autograph. It was a lady that had she won the bid on because you were supposed to escape a tank at that event, and there were a couple other people. I ended up filling in for you.
I filled in for Rachel.
Yeah, he filled in for Rachel. And the lady that had the winning bid on the tank that I did in your place, afterwards, she's like, "Can you autograph this tank?" And I'm like, "Well, we'll see if we could find a permanent marker or something that'll work on it." And for me, I was like, I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm just me, but okay. So that will always stick out for me. Let me see.
It just hit me. That's a year ago.
Yeah.
That's a year ago this weekend.
Yeah. Wow, it is. I mean, I know it'd been a while, but yeah, that's a year ago this weekend. Sure enough, it is.
Yeah, they haven't scheduled it yet for this year.
I'd gone to the hospital the week before. That was part of the reason I didn't go. Is that like I had a heart condition apparently, and I was in the hospital the weekend before, and the last weekend was the anniversary of that. And then I knew the next week was the same thing. So, wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Well, we've only got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to grab these super chats and stickers and as many questions as we can. Let me see. I left off at... See, Dave's Aquarium Thoughts, throwing that $1 super sticker with the sunglasses smiley face. Thank you very much for that, Dave. I very much appreciate it, my friend. I know at least one of these has got a question that I saw from Multi-Tank Addiction. I'll get right to that, Chris, here in a second. Tim's Fish Room throwing a $10 super sticker in there with the, I can't do it, I'll mess my headphones up, but it's the hippo turning his hat. Thank you very much for that, Tim. I appreciate the $10. We're going to call it a Tim dollar. There we go. The $10 super sticker. And I appreciate you being here, my friend. Colin's Critter Cave is throwing down that $1 super sticker with that beautiful forest. One of these days, I'm going to find a forest that pretty. I'm going to go camping there. Very much appreciate you, Colin. Always good to see you, my friend. Now, there's Chris with Multi-Tank Addiction throwing a $5 super chat at us. It says, miss talking to you and Ed. Great guest as well. He's got another one. I've got one more real quick.
There's poor Sean in the hospital from a year ago.
Poor guy.
I sent you a message like,
I know. He said, I don't think I can come with you guys. I might be dead tomorrow. That was horrible. I'm glad you didn't die, though, Sean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me too.
What would we do
Totally
tonight if
cool
Sean would have
interview.
died a year ago?
It would be not very many questions getting answered, and kind of
Play
creepy.
with my tanks.
Yeah. We've got a Xanadu with $1 super sticker throwing down the doo-doo with that $1 pile of fertilizer. Thank you for that, a Xanadu. And then there's Chris with multi-tank addiction throwing down another $2 super chat. Says, what should I charge to clean a single 60-gallon tank? I'll be honest, I can't really give you a good answer for that from myself, just because there are a lot of variables to that. You know, what's kind of the local going rate? What's the distance to the tank? Are we talking about salt or fresh? Is it a really highly aquascaped tank, or is it like a South American cichlid tank with some sand and a couple of rocks in it? So I don't know, but if you want to message me in more detail, maybe we can figure out something. Either of you gentlemen have any suggestions
Send them
on
a
that?
photo and then charge twice as much as your first guest.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Twice as much as what you would think you should.
Definitely. I would I'd almost maybe call a fellow a maintenance thing if there's another maintenance company in your area and just say, hey, just curious, I've got a 60-gallon tank and this is what's in it. What do y'all charge to clean it? You know, maybe go a little bit under what they're charging.
I would do the city next door.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want them to see your phone number or anything. So I would call the city next door and ask them how much it cost. So that way you aren't talking to your competition. That way they can't talk bad about you.
Yeah.
They can't say, oh, he called me yesterday to find out my prices.
Well, I mean, that's a business thing. Businesses do that all the time. You know,
Yeah.
that's why they send people into competition stores to take pictures of pricing on shelves and take it back to corporate.
Yeah, but he's not corporate.
Well, no.
I mean, when I had my photo studio, I wouldn't call the guy next to me. I would talk to the girl that was in Redbud.
Well, I get what you're saying. I look at it more from the approach of the gas station across the street is looking at my prices and I'm looking at their prices. But I also used to manage a gas station, so I guess that's where that mentality plays in. But yeah, it's really hard because prices are going to vary in areas and the tank's going to vary. Well, I got about a minute left before we get into Chattanooga Ed's time, and I don't want to cut into his time. IHSPS's Tech Tribe dropping the $1.50 super sticker with the big red hearts. Thank you for that, IHSPS. Always good to see you. Got our buddy here, Bob Kaler from Kaler's Aquatics, throwing a $1 pile of poo on us. Thank you for that, Bob. Always glad to see you. I appreciate you putting in work as a moderator as well. Hopefully you and I will get to hang out sometime soon. I haven't gotten to hang out with you, and I miss you, buddy. But thank you for the super sticker.
I got to hang out with Bob today.
You did?
For only about 10 minutes. It was really short. My fish store guy, it was his birthday, and one of the guys that worked there told me, so I thought, okay, I'm going to buy some stuff and run out and buy him a pack of beer. And then when I got back, Bob was gone. But Bob had to get his groceries because he accidentally scheduled his pickup at a different time than he thought. So it was all cool, but it was just a bummer. Didn't get to hang out with Bob much.
And we've got Melissa Falsey. Oh, sorry. With a $5 super chat. Says, just because. Melissa, thank you very much for that. Very much appreciate the support from you and everybody else. You know, you all are what keeps the lights on and the tanks filled. So we always appreciate that. So I see one question in between those super chats that we're going to take real quick, and then we're going to head over to Chattanooga Ed's channel. But Aquatic Dan the Man says, Fish from Fever, Ed and Pecktec, what is your holy grail fish that you want from the hobby but have not yet had? So would you like a minute to think on that one, or do you have something in mind already for us, Sean?
I don't have one.
Okay. That's a good answer. It's definitely a different answer.
And it's not because, well, it's not because I know every fish and there's one I just can't get. It's because like I was saying before, I discover them at the store. So a lot of the ones I'm really going to want, I don't even know they exist yet. I'm still very much discovering new fish. And I think because I've been kind of content with like the between 13 and 18 aquariums that I have going at any given time. Like I don't always look, I'm not always looking towards new challenges that way. I like the familiar waters. of the fish I know and I like. And occasionally I discover new ones, but I don't have, at least right now, I don't have any I'm like really aspiring to. Except maybe better looking versions of what I know about.
There we go. Well said. Very well put. That reminds me of, I forget where I saw it, and I won't digress into it, but it was a fish collector / explorer. I can't think of the terminology, but they were going to try and find undiscovered species. And the person that was taking them out or that was with them to do an interview are like, well, what fish are you hoping to find? And he's like, the one I don't know exists yet. That's why we're looking for undiscovered species. If I knew what it was, it wouldn't be undiscovered. So yeah, I could totally understand that. What about you, buddy? Ed?
I would like to discover the Chattanooga Edfish.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what it'll look like because it hasn't been discovered yet.
Absolutely. My holy grail fish is still has for a long time been and probably for a long time will be a blue diamond piranha, but specifically one that I've gone and collected myself and come back with. So that's my holy grail fish. And on that, since we are 2 minutes into Ed's time, we are going to wrap it up. But before we do, Sean, is there anything you'd like to tell the viewers about specifically for your channel, things you've got coming up? I know I do want to mention, I put a link in the description for Sean's gaming channel. I think you should check that out because I know a lot of us fish nerds are also game nerds. So be sure to check that out and enjoy it. But
and we can talk about that in the next hour too, about his games.
Yeah.
There you
if
go.
we want. Just saying.
I haven't done much on the game channel lately, but in fact, November, I think was my last video there, but I'm hoping to maybe throw on a couple of new ones while I'm sort of taking a break on the fish channel. I say taking a break, but what that means is I've made a month of content and I've been releasing it. So right now is the most active my channel will have probably ever been because I've got no less than between 4 and 5 videos a week, every week for the next 6 weeks. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of interviews and kind of fun stuff. And I've got a lot of old stuff that's kind of fun to watch too. Me in 2015 there's some really crazy videos. If you'd like to see some stuff you've probably never seen on a fish tube video before, I've got some of that. So I'd be happy to meet any of you that want to come on over and check me out. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Ed, final thoughts or words?
Nope. Just remember, I forgot what I'm supposed to say, James.
Oh, it's not that you're supposed to say
wait.
There we go.
Make sure you. Oh gosh. Don't be afraid to get your hands wet. Keep those tanks clean.
There we go.
I think I got it right. Darn it. I need to write that down.
So, and Sean, did you say you're going to follow us over there to Ed's channel at least for a little bit?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Go over and paint.
There we go.
Shh, they don't know.
Well, now they do. I mean, we've got 129 people watching. I thought they might be interested in that. So a little bit of a spoiler. If you hung out till the very end of the stream, now you know and you can follow us over. Yeah, by all means, Sean, I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's always fun talking to you. I appreciate everybody in the chat. 126 people watching and 100 plus thumbs ups. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Of course, as always, the members, the moderators, the lurkers, the listeners, the super chatters and contributors, questioners and commentators. Of course, the replay crew. Thank you all. I love you guys. Let's go check out Chattanooga Ed's live stream. Link is in the chat right there. Until next time, keep your fish healthy, keep yourselves healthy, catch yourself a little fish room fever. Take care, everybody.